Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you're well. Today's assembly is going to be about Mental Health Awareness Week and how important it is to go out into nature. But before we start that, I wanted to talk to you about something I've been really impressed with this week. I've been so impressed with the way that you've responded to the adults talking about the three shows: to show respect, to show integrity, and to show excellence. It's been really noticeable around the school that people are trying their hardest to do those things, even more than usual, which is fantastic. I've been particularly impressed to hear that children in reception are trying their best to show integrity, because that's quite a hard thing to do when you're 5 years old. And I've noticed lots and lots of children around school with stickers on them. So well done if you've managed to get yourself a sticker this week. Keep up the good work. We're going to continue to focus on it as a school. Now, Mental Health Awareness Week this week. Mental health awareness means that we need to be aware, we need to think about the fact that sometimes we don't feel good, the fact that sometimes we might feel a bit sad and not know why, or the fact that other people might sometimes find life a bit tricky. But Mental Health Awareness Week this year is all about the importance of nature, which is why it looks like I've got a tree sprouting out of my head. Now, in our school, we talk about nature quite a lot, don't we? We talk about the importance of our woods, and recently we've given ourselves some woods monitors who've been doing a really good job, so thank you to those children. I wanted to read you a book today, which is about the importance of a space like our woods. The book is about a garden, and it's called The Last Garden. And in this book, certain things happen. And you've got clues to what's happening on the title page next to the words "The Last Garden." And parts of this book don't really relate to our lives, but the importance of the garden and the importance of going out into nature to make yourself feel good really does relate to our lives. The book's written by a woman called Rachel Ip and is illustrated by another lady called Annalie Bray. And this book, like so many of the books I read to you, was suggested to me by Mrs. Hamilton. If you don't get books suggested to you by Mrs. Hamilton because you don't see her, I would make an effort to go and see her, to talk to her about the books that you like. Miss Hamilton lent me a book last week that I read, and it was so brilliant that it made me cry. So, if you're struggling to find a book, if you want a book that will make you feel better or will help you with a problem, then Miss Hamilton's the person to go and speak to, because she knows all there is to know and she's always learning more about it. I'm going to start reading us our story now, so I'll make myself a little bit smaller. While I'm reading the story, there'll be some bits that you might be able to relate to, and there'll be some bits that won't feel much like our lives, but that's okay, because it's important that we look at what lives are like around the world. In the middle of our country, there was a city. In the middle of our city, there was a garden. The city was grey and sad, but the garden was bright and beautiful. Once, before the war came, there were trees on every corner. Now, this was the last garden left. And you can see the garden over there on the other page. The war went on, and still Zara looked after the garden. There were pear trees and nut trees and flowers and herbs. Zara grew figs and apricots and all kinds of vegetables for the people of our city. She let us climb trees and build dens. Sometimes we picked fruit and helped her water the plants. We took Zara's flowers home to our broken houses. We brought her figs and pears to our friends in the hospital. Wow, this garden sounds really important to people, doesn't it? This bit on the page that my head is in front of now reminded me of our woods, because she lets them climb trees and build dens, which is something that you all like to do in the woods. But the war was on our doorstep. Bombs were falling and our homes shook. There were cracks in our roads and the walls around our playground had crumbled. We were no longer allowed to play in our playground. But we still enjoyed Zara's garden. She showed us how to tie up the broken plants, and we picked the bruised and tender vegetables. Together, we planted new seeds in old tin cans and rusty paint pots. Greyness and sadness had spread through the city, but our plants grew green and bright. Now, this sentence that I've just read, the sentence here, greyness and sadness had spread through our city, but the plants grew green and bright. That was the sentence that made me want to read this story to you today, because I think that sentence sums up how important plants and wooded areas can be. Even when you're feeling that sadness, it's really important to get outside to see nature growing. And at the moment, in our wooded area, nature's growing really quickly, isn't it? So if you are feeling a bit down, then go outside and look at all the grass that's sprouting through at the moment, and that might make you feel a little bit better. Then one day, we weren't allowed in Zara's garden anymore. It wasn't safe to play outside. Bombs were falling every day, and nowhere was safe in our city. Everyone was leaving. We packed up our things, because we were leaving too. Zara locked the gate to her garden, and we left our city together. For months, Zara's garden lay empty and alone, but it was still growing. At last the day came when the war was over. Slowly we returned to our broken city. Zara had the keys to the garden, and she unlocked the gate. Zara smiled. All those months, her plants had still been growing. They were tall and strong and wild and free. Her garden was full of life and colour. Just as before, we went to play in Zara's garden. We climbed trees and picked pears. We helped Zara water the flowers. And like the garden, our city blossomed and came back to life. So, on the back of the book just here, it says a thoughtful story of war, peace and hope. And the reason I wanted to read it to you today, because it is a really hopeful story. And it's really important on Mental Health Awareness Week that we think about hope. And we think about how even when we're sad and when we're feeling a bit down, we can be hopeful, and going to look at plants and nature can help us be helpful. So, if you are feeling a bit down, or if one of your friends is feeling a bit sad, maybe you could take them into our woods and let them look at the nature, the grass and the plants that are growing at the moment. Okay, I'm going to go now. I hope you have a lovely weekend and you manage to get out into nature, even in the rain. Have a lovely one. Bye-bye.